Hi, welcome to Lesson 3. Today we'll cover why the Better Disclosure Canvas was created and how it was originally used. We'll also cover an overview of the canvas, the 8 consideration areas, and the sequence of use. And lastly, we'll share specific examples for each of the 8 consideration areas. Today we're focused on 3 distinct learning outcomes. Number 1. Remembering the 8 consideration areas of the Better Disclosure Canvas. Number 2, recognizing the sequence of the 8 consideration areas of the Better Disclosure Canvas. And number 3, summarizing how the Better Disclosure Canvas can be used within organizations. Let's go back to where it all started. Through our work on Data Trust by Design at Greater Than X, our services business, we'd spent a lot of time thinking through the specific tactics that could help make contracts and other disclosures more comprehensible and actionable. This predated the formal development of our Better Disclosure Toolkit. Then, the Hayne Royal Banking Commission, an independent inquiry into the conduct of Australian financial services, really came to life. There was a lot that came out of this, but one specific area was that disclosure had to be improved. The regulators referred to financial disclosures as sludge. They even went as far as to say that these practices enabled poor conduct. So to help solve this big problem, we created the Better Disclosure Canvas. It was originally designed to be printed out AO and used in co-located workshop settings. But given all that has changed, the Canvas is now used almost exclusively in a virtual setting. We now use Mural so that the canvas really works in these virtual workplaces that so many of us have become used to. On the far right here, you'll see the process outline. This helps facilitators and participants of the process focus on the specific questions that we need to ask and answer. It also helps us keep time. Let's go through this step by step. Consideration area 1, lead with values. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Simon Sinek's famous TED Talk is perhaps more relevant than ever today. In fact, meaningful brands far outperform their competitors. This consideration area encourages an organization's values to be communicated and, importantly, acted upon throughout the end-to-end experience. Here's an example of how we've done this at Greater Than Learning through our multi-step sign-up process. Consideration area 2, break components down and utilize layering techniques. This is about information design and prioritizing what's most important. As you can see from this example, the most important information, the stuff people really need to understand in order to be informed, is most salient. We then use layers to progressively disclose more detail. This gives people enough to understand and move on, if that's what they want, whilst also catering to the people who want to know every minute detail. Consideration area number 3, diversify the form factor. By form factor, we're referring to the way the content of the disclosure is designed. Think video, audio, imagery, diagrams, interaction design patterns, simple games, icons, and plain language written content. We typically prioritize in that top layer video and other forms of content that are pretty easy to interact with, and this consistently proves effective. You can see a great example of that in this research from Stefania Pacera. Consideration area 4, offer contextual guidance. Disclosures are rarely fun. People often get stuck at common points. And this consideration area encourages you to work through those challenging areas and find ways to enhance people's understanding. This might take the form of a simple FAQs, a pop-up offering help, or something else entirely. Remember what we stressed in lesson 2. Empiricism matters. Guess and then put it to the test. Consideration area 5, give visibility of tangible progress. The power of progress is actually pretty well studied. It's an effective motivator. It's often used to help with things like onboarding. We're simply bringing this over into a disclosure context to enhance motivation and encourage completion, active engagement, active interaction. Right now, we do this with a simple progress bar. Consideration area number 6. Clarify the consequences. This is a tough one. We actually encourage this as a separate but supporting activity. What this means is that you spend time mapping different outcomes that might result from you designing and deploying and people using your product or service. Consequence scanning is actually a really great approach for this. It's important to note that these outcomes could be positive. They could also be negative. Doing this will help the people you're designing for make more balanced decisions about the pros and cons, the benefits and the risks. For us, this is most important in the roles and responsibilities of community members. Consideration area number 7. Delay the core action. Delaying is designed to encourage people to actively engage with the disclosure rather than bypassing it. Remember, we refer to this as the agreement bypass bias, or AB for short. By delaying the core action based on time, number of steps, or some other meaningful metric, you can encourage more intentional interaction. Consideration area number 8. Give people a receipt. It's estimated that the average internet user has about 200 online accounts. What this means is that we, average internet users, have entered into hundreds of agreements. We don't know if they've changed. We don't really know what our rights are. Remember, we bypass them. We don't know what to do when we change our mind. Designing receipts like, say, Kantara Initiative's consent receipt specification gives people a simple place to know what they've agreed to and how to take actions that are available to them. The simplest way to do this is to send a point-in-time PDF of the agreement directly to people as part of the sign-up confirmation email. Start with this, but don't forget to keep innovating. As with all we advocate for, it's important to do this as a team. These approaches are simpler, faster, and more effective when we work together.